What if I told you that there was a key mindset shift to unlock all of your relationship potential that's already within you? And it's not about changing your partner or waiting for them to make the first move. It's about taking responsibility for your own role in the dynamic. In this video, we're going to explore 3 powerful ways that owning your actions can help you reclaim control and create the relationship that you've always wanted. But first, let's get one thing straight. Taking responsibility isn't about beating yourself up or shouldering all of the blame. It's about recognizing that you have the power to influence the situation, no matter what your partner does or doesn't do. When you start to shift this mindset on what you can control, your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, you actually start to see real change. And let me know in the comments below if you've struggled with this issue. So now that we've laid the groundwork, let's dive a little bit deeper into the crucial distinction between responsibility and blame. It is a very subtle difference, but trust me, understanding this can be a total game changer in your relationship. So when you're stuck in blame mode, you're essentially saying, it's all their fault, or it's all my fault. I'm a horrible person for doing this. You're trapped in this negative spiral, replaying past mistakes or conflicts over and over. It's essentially very, very past focused. And the more you get stuck into this blame mindset, it's kind of like being stuck in quicksand. You struggle more and more and more to point the finger of blame, whether it's taking all the blame yourself or pointing all the blame to your partner. The more you do this, the deeper you sink into the quicksand. And this can feel like a natural way to do things. But here's the thing, blame doesn't actually solve any problems. It feels like it does, but it actually keeps you powerless and stuck in the same position. Because when you're pointing fingers, you're giving away all of the agency and your ability to actually create future change. Whereas responsibility is all about taking back that power. It's about saying, okay, this is the situation. What can I do about it moving forward? So instead of dwelling on the past and focusing backwards, you're actually focused on finding solutions and creating a better future. So let's say that you and your partner had a huge argument and you said some things that you regret. If you're in blame mode, then maybe you'll beat yourself up, you'll punish yourself, and you think to yourself, I'm a terrible partner, I always screw everything up, I shouldn't be in this relationship, I'm terrible. But if you're shifting your mindset into responsibility, those thoughts actually become more like, I let my anger get the best of me in that moment. I need to start taking action and to manage my emotions. I need to start taking a breath before reacting. I need to develop the skills to remain calm in difficult situations. Do you see the difference? Blame keeps you paralyzed. It keeps you looking backwards, beating yourself up and punishing yourself. Whereas responsibility actually empowers you to start taking control and growing and improving. And that has a huge impact on the relationship. And the best thing about taking responsibility is that once you start to do it, it actually starts to rub off on your partner as well to do the same. It creates a positive feedback loop of growth and connection. So once you start taking responsibility for your part of the equation, this inspires your partner over time to see that because you're taking responsibility, then it will inspire them to start taking responsibility on what they have control over. I understand that making this mindset shift isn't easy, especially when you and your partner have been playing the blame game for a while. Pointing fingers is very, very easy, and breaking that feedback loop can be difficult at first. Because what can happen is that you start to take responsibility and then your partner starts to say, well, see, you're admitting blame, it's your fault, etc. So this takes time and practice and patience. So it's important to start small. So the next time you catch yourself blaming, even if it's internally, pause and ask yourself, what is healthy right now? What is good for the relationship? What is one thing I can do moving forward rather than taking the time to wallow in the past? The more that you practice this in small ways, over time, it will start to become second nature. And as you do this, as you start to take more responsibility, you'll start to notice some of these major changes. You'll start to notice the impact that it has on all aspects of your life. Because the more that you take responsibility and understand that your actions are part of this feedback loop, the more control you'll have over your actions in life, the more purposeful you'll be and deliberate with your actions, as well as proactively starting to make better decisions. Like I said, when you start to take responsibility, communication with your partner will flow a lot more smoothly. You'll both be able to have more space to focus on what really matters, which is what to do moving forward rather than focusing on the past. So with that, I want to actually hear from you. What is the one area of your relationship where you tend to fall into blame? Where do you start to point the finger onto your partner or even take all of the blame yourself? And what is one small step you can start to take to shift into responsibility instead of blame? Let me know in the comments below. So you might be thinking, okay, I get the concept, but how do I actually put this into practice? This is surely easier said than done, right? One of the first and best ways of applying this is actually within the communication with your partner. So when conflicts do arise, and obviously they always will, no matter what relationship you're in, it can be easy to fall into the trap of accusation, you statements. You do this, you never listen to me, you're always upsetting me. The problem with this approach is that it immediately puts your partner on the defensive. It shuts down any chance of any productive dialogue, because what you're doing is you're looking at the situation and you're projecting blame onto them. You're not actually looking at what you have control over, which is yourself. You're actually looking at them, who you don't have control over, and you're putting all of the onus of the conversation onto them. So during conversation, try using I statements that focus on your own feelings and your own experiences. And this is where you can take responsibility. So for example, I feel hurt when we don't spend quality time together. I get overwhelmed when the housework piles up. You see how that shifts the energy? This is taking responsibility for your feelings and understanding that it's your perspective, and you're owning that. You're not attacking or you're blaming, you're simply expressing your truth to your partner. And this opens the door for your partner to be able to respond with empathy and collaboration. This is forward thinking and sort of saying, hey, here's part of the problem and I'm owning that. Like, how can we get around this? Another way to take responsibility is to start to dig in and learn about your own triggers and your own reactions. So, for example, let's say your partner is running late for date night again, and you find yourself angry. Rather than launching into a tirade in the moment before they walk in, take a beat to check in with yourself. What is really going on beneath the anger? Are you feeling neglected? Are you feeling unimportant? Is this tapping into some deeper insecurity within yourself? Again, this is taking responsibility for your emotions, because one of the mistakes people make is that they think that events cause emotions, but actually what's happening is it's your interpretation of the event that causes emotions. So let's say your partner is running late for date night. If you're getting angry, it's not because your partner's running late for date night, it's because you have a negative interpretation of your partner running late for date night. And that within yourself, you're looking at this as a bad thing. So you're getting upset because you think, well, my partner's causing a bad thing to happen. So it's learning this and learning how to manage your emotions, being able to name and own those emotions yourself. You're better equipped to communicate them calmly and also start to do something about them. So for example, in this instance, you might say something like, when we're running late, I start to worry that maybe I'm not a priority for you. Can we maybe have a conversation about that? This is owning your feelings and opening up a conversation to move forward. This is taking responsibility for what you are in control of and choosing to have a path forward. And this is a lot more productive than some sort of like sarcastic or jokey comment about, how late your partner is. And again, this takes practice. It's not about being perfect or pretending that you don't have those feelings. It's about just developing the mindfulness to pause, reflect, and understand what is going on within yourself. That's the more responsible path forward. Let's take another real life scenario. Let's say you're living with your partner and you're constantly bickering over household chores. You feel like you're doing more than your fair share and resentment is starting to build. With a blame mindset, you might kind of just stew in silence. You assume that they're just lazy or they're inconsiderate or they don't care about you or the house. But once you start to shift into responsibility mode, you actually start to be proactive. You sit down with your partner and say, I've been feeling overwhelmed with the division of housework lately. Can we come up with maybe a plan together that feels a little bit more fair to me and manageable for both of us? Like, let's have a talk about this. There's no permanent decision being made right now, but let's have a little chat about it. And then you can start getting into solution mode with something that works for both of you. You're making a list of tasks to divvy them up based on what is stressful to you, what is not stressful to you, etc. And maybe start checking in. Simply by taking the responsibility and initiating that conversation, you are taking the responsibility and owning your role in the solution. You've turned a point of contention within yourself into an opportunity to collaborate and grow. This, again, is about two people in the relationship, and you can only control what you do. And that's what responsibility is all about. It's not just about identifying problems. It's about being able to recognize that there's a challenge and taking action to proactively solve them without putting all of the weight of that on one person. So here's my challenge for you. Take a second to think about a recurring conflict or a frustration that comes into your relationship. Think about how you can start applying this principle of responsibility to start shifting that dynamic, to start changing these problems that aren't being acted on or are building up and breeding resentment within yourself into a more proactive role and a more optimistic role and a more trusting role to be able to say, I'm going to take responsibility for how I feel, and I'm going to start opening up conversations about this situation and how we can move forward. So maybe this is having a vulnerable conversation with your partner about something that is a touchy subject. Maybe it's owning up to a mistake you made and making amends. Maybe it's simply raising a tough conversation and taking the time to listen to your partner on it, even when it's really uncomfortable. And again, remember, taking responsibility isn't about being perfect. It's not about having all of the answers. It's about being willing to show up, own your part, and lead by example. This is working towards positive change. And when you do that consistently, it's amazing how much your relationships start to transform. And if you want to learn more about all of the steps to do this and how relationship dynamics work, then I invite you to join me on my free relationship bootcamp, where you'll learn the step-by-step process to start turning your relationships around. And you'll also get a chance to be able to work with me directly. Click on the link in the description down below to get started. So taking responsibility in your relationships is about reclaiming your power. It's about saying, I'm not a victim of my circumstances. I'm an active participant, and I'm able to start influencing the relationship in a positive direction. When you start to let go of blame and start to own your role, then it opens up a bigger world of possibility, and it stops you from being stuck in that toxic cycle of resentment and finger pointing. Removing blame enables you to start creating the connection that you both deserve in the relationship. And again, this may not be easy, but every time you choose responsibility over blame, you become more empowered in your relationship, empowered to develop it and start working together as a team. So again, start small, practice those I statements, and start to dig into your triggers. And navigating these conversations are never easy, but it's important to take the responsibility to learn the skills into how to talk in a very effective way so you can create a path forward for you both. And if you want more information on how to do that, then I will leave you with this video right here. I'll see you over there.